Hello, in this video I would like to talk about pre-releases and packaging them and how the specfile library can help you with that. So, here is an example of a pre-release. It's a messen package. A pre-release is a not yet stable upstream release. This is the next stable version that will be released in the future, and this is a pre-release suffix. As you can see, there is a dot delimiting these two. Here is another example, CMake. The main difference is that there is a dash here as a delimiter. So when we want to package a pre-release, there are two issues. One of them is that you can't just take this string and put it in the version tag because RPM doesn't allow dashes in the version. That's one issue. Here we have a dot, so it wouldn't be a problem, but there is another issue, and let me demonstrate it. It's an issue with sorting. So if I take the release that we just saw, 050 RC2, and I compare it with the next stable version, which is 050. As you can see, the pre-release sorts higher. That's a problem because when the package would be updated to 050 and this pre-release would be installed, it would be never upgraded. So the solution for this is to replace the delimiter with a tilde. Tilde is a special character that tells RPM to sort it lower. So now the pre-release is sorted lower and it would work as expected. Now let's take a look at how messen is packaged, or how this pre-release of messen is packaged. Okay, so this is messen spec file. As you can see here, the dot is already replaced with the tilde in the version tag. But in order to be able to download the upstream tarball, we have to do some changes. So here, this spec file takes advantage of this version no tilde macro. Let's see what it does. Let's define some version. So, okay, it can be 050, and let's expand the macro. And it prints 050. If I put some release suffix, you can see that the tilde has been replaced with a dash. In this case, it's not what we want, but fortunately the macro takes an argument, and that argument is the delimiter that we want to use. So we use dot here, and we have the pre-release with the dot. But as you can see, the tarball version is actually without a delimiter at all. So we have to pass an empty string, and that's achieved by using a quote macro. So let's do that. We don't have to pass any argument, or we can use nail. The result will be the same, and there is no delimiter here. Okay, so now let's use the specfile library. Load the spec file. First, let's take a look at expanded version, which is exactly the same as this. Let's also take a look at the source tag. print the expanded value. Yeah, so as you can see, the version has been converted to the upstream version with the dot, and the file name or the version in the file name is without the delimiter at all. So this constructs the proper URL for a pre-release in this case. You can also check that the same is used here in the prep section, because the top level directory in the tarball is of course same as the name of the file. So yeah. Okay, so now to update from this pre-release to the stable version, which would be 0.55.0, all we have to do is to remove this. So let's do that. We can do that very easily. Just set the version. Let's save the spec. And yeah, the version changed, nothing else has changed, just the version. And expanded version is now again 0.55.0, and expanded source tag is without any RC suffixes. It's a proper URL for a stable release. Now let's try to update this to a next pre-release. So let's say it would be 0.56.0 RC1. Okay, now it's not enough to just put it here, because there would be a dot and we need tilde there. So yeah, of course we could just replace it with tilde, but specfile has a method that will do this for us. So we will specify the upstream release, which is 0.55.0 RC1, and as the next argument we will use regex. First capturing group of the regex is the delimiter, so in this case it's a dot, and the rest is the pre-release suffix. So in our case is RC and some number. We could also put here, for example, alpha or beta or C, like this. Okay, that's all. Run it. We save the spec. And what happened? Version has been updated and the dot has been replaced with the tilde. Nothing else has changed. And let's print the expanded version. And the expanded version of the source tag. And as you can see, version is with a tilde as expected, and the source URL is again as expected with the dot here, no separator here. And that's it. Okay, now let's take a look how CMake pre-release is packaged. So this pre-release okay, so we can see that this spec file is a bit more complex. We are interested in the version tag. So here we can see that the value of it is actually comes from this macro package version, and this macro is defined here and here. Which instance is used depends on this condition, which depends on this macro. So as you can see, this macro holds the pre-release suffix, and if it's defined, then this clause is used, and there are two macros, package version, tar version. The package version macro contains the tilde, and the tar version contains the dash. So that's the upstream pre-release. If the macro is commented out, so it's not defined, then this branch takes effect, and it's just the stable version in both cases. Let's take a look at the source 0, and you can see that the tar version is used here. The package version with the tilde is used here in the version tag, and I can check also prep section, and again tar version is used here, so the one with the dash. Okay, let's go back and let's try to update this spec file to the next stable release. So load it. First, let's check the expanded version. As you can see, it's 3.28.0 RC3. So the tilde comes from here, and it's the package version macro. Now let's check also the source 0 tag. Okay. And as you can see here, it's the dash as a delimiter. Here is just major and minor version. And yeah, this is a proper URL for pre-release in this case. So let's say that we want to update this spec file to the next stable release, which would be 3.28.0. So we will use again update version. The version that we want is 3.28.0, and now we have to change the regex because there should be a dash as a delimiter. The rest can stay the same, but we have to specify another argument, and this argument has to correspond to this macro, because this is the macro that controls if a pre-release will be used or a stable release. So the macro is, in this case, is called rcsuf. Now we can run it. We can save the spec. Save. Let's load it, and you can see that the rcsuf macro has been commented out. So the version didn't change because it's the stable version. So let's print expanded version. That's correct. And let's print the source 0 tag. And again, this is the stable version. So this is a proper URL for a stable version. Now, let's move from this stable release to a next release. So we will say, or let's say we will skip a few releases and we will update to a release that would be, for example, 3.30.1 and dash and RC4, for example. The regex is still the same and the macro is still the same. So we will call this, we will save the spec, and now you can see that minor and patch version have been updated, and the macro has been updated as well, and it has been uncommented. So expanded version is correct, and so 0 URL is again correct with a dash for the pre-release. You can take a look at the diff. So only the macros have been changed and nothing else. Okay, so that's all. This is how you can use the update version method of a specfile instance to update from a pre-release to a stable release, or from a stable release to a pre-release, depending on how your spec file is set up for pre-releases. You would use the third argument or not. You always have to use the second argument that most importantly tells spec file what is the delimiter. You can also just use empty group if there is no delimiter in the upstream release. And yeah, also since Packit uses this functionality of spec file, you can use it, or you can let Packit to do the pre-releases or do the updates for you with proposed upstream or pull from upstream, and you don't have to worry about that. Thank you for your attention and see you next time.